Just laying on some fuzzy pillows, noticing a few gray hairs coming in. Time is moving along. That's how it goes, right? When did you notice your first gray hair? Doesn't matter. You don't have to. You don't have to admit to anything. Hulk Hogan died yesterday. I don't have any particular affinity for Hulk Hogan, but I know Ozzy died yesterday as well. Last week, not yesterday. Last week. Or was it this week? It was recent. I didn't have any particular affinity for Ozzy either. I respected his work. But these are two cultural icons who, in my youth, they were sort of saturated in the media. They were around. It's weird. It's weird when this happens. These stalwarts of our of our paradigm start disappearing. I say it's weird when this happens, not to suggest that I've experienced this before, but this is sort of like the first time for me. Like when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I really enjoyed watching like WWF, WCW wrestling, and things like that. But I don't know, Hulk Hogan wasn't really. I mean, he was there, and I knew who he was, but not because I ever watched him in wrestling. He was just like a household name. And it's interesting how that happens. How these niche celebrities, I guess you'd call them, somehow permeate the culture and become household names. And I would see Hulk Hogan on things like direct to DVD movies, stuff like that. Or he had like a reality show. Hogan Knows Best. I'm sure for a lot of people, given his status, he was like a large part of their childhood. To me, he just represents I guess the media that hung overhead when I was a teenager or a preteen. When I was a little boy, I remember sitting with my grandfather in his room. It was like this hazy room with this small TV, the kind where you had to crank the dial to change the channel. And he was watching wrestling, and I didn't know what it was. I'd seen it before, but I didn't know what it was. And I don't remember who the people were in the wrestling match. One of the guys was named Dino Bravo. That's all I remember. And he wore blue. He had like blue trunks or something. But I don't know who that is. I just clearly remember that name. And I remember my grandfather asking me if I like Hulk Hogan. And I said, I don't know who that is. And I said, do you like Hulk Hogan? I asked rather. And he said, no, he's a schmuck. I said, what's the man's name that you like? And he said, Rowdy Roddy Piper. He's the man. Well, I didn't ever really find out who that was until much later on in my life, when I was maybe like 15 years old. I think I could recognize sort of who he was if I would see him, but I didn't know what he was about or anything of his personality or character, I guess. Um, all that to say, like at the time I was asked that question, Hulk Hogan was the premier, I guess, like star. He was like the poster boy for the WWF at the time. And I know that because I later bought a comic book when I was maybe 10. So my grandfather asked me this, maybe I was 4 or 5. But I bought this comic book when I was 10. And it had Roddy Piper, and it had Hulk Hogan. So I know it was around the same time. And there was Jake the Snake. So Hulk Hogan's death to me is sort of like, in a way, like the disintegration of memory, as if there's like a plateau upon which all of our consciousness sits, all of these things that feel within reach. And as time rolls on, it sort of drops off a cliff the further away it gets, until it's so far out of reach, beyond the cultural paradigm. And along with that, I feel the resolution or clarity of memories is along with it. So, to anybody who had a particular affinity for Hulk Hogan, I'm sorry that one of the icons in your life has ascended. But for myself, I guess it just makes me miss my grandfather.